I'd like to pass this out. We're going to need precinct walkers. We need people to put up a sign, maybe in their yard or at their place of business, or anywhere that you might know. We'll need all kinds of things coming up in November, December, and January. Because of ballot harvesting in this state, you know, the ballots will probably be dropping in hospitals, assisted living facilities, and apartment buildings around January 30th, 31st, February 1st. So I hope that, you know, you'll.
I've already signed. I'm on your list. You got a previous list. I signed it.
I don't have a previous list. This is my only list.
Okay.
Would you please sign? That's the only list I have. So I'd like to ask, who's a veteran here today? I know you're a veteran from the Vietnam War, and I want to thank you for your service. You're a veteran also.
Yep.
Any other veterans here?
We have an Army brat.
Okay, all right. So what do you say, as your United States Senator, one of the things that I want to get proposed in the U.S. Senate, and I believe that Tom Cotton and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and a lot of them are going to support, is some legislation that will end taxation of veterans' military pay. So here in the state of California, you pay as a veteran, as a military veteran, 100% tax on your pension. I think that should be illegal. How many of you are with me? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So that's one of the first things I'd like to do. I don't think a veteran should have to pay 100% on their tax. Yeah.
100%.
100%.
I mean that there's no tax break. I mean that their
So
taxes.
they pay 13%.
No, not
They-
necessarily.
Not-
That's the California
Yeah, that's the
state,
California.
California
Delaware-
state tax, that's
Yeah,
what they have to
and in
pay.
Delaware, they do 100%, and in Washington DC, and there are other states.
No, you mean they pay the going tax rate.
Yes.
They don't pay 100%
Yeah,
tax.
They
that's
pay
a business-
100
that's a
per-
bad
They-
No.
On the money that they earn, they pay the state
That's
tax
what I'm
rate.
trying to clarify. but
Yeah.
What you're saying
Sure.
is misleading.
Well, if you, okay, so I apologize.
You don't
But-
apologize.
You're getting
Do it.
the veterans are getting taxed, and it's wrong.
Yeah, that's the main part.
That's enough.
That's the main part.
If you,
100% of their
They get
pension
taxed
is
on
taxed, is what I think
They
you're trying
get
to say.
state.
Yeah, I think it's
She's
not
right.
100%
excuse
of
me,
tax.
excuse me. So here in California, I'm gonna word this better. 100% of the pension is taxed. And in other states, they're taxed as well. Perhaps not 100%, some states it's 56%, some states it's 70%. But I don't believe that there should be a tax on a veteran's military pension, however you wanna word it.
You
And
gotta change the word.
thank you, I will work on that. So that's number one. Number two, it's really important that we refuse the opportunity for China and other nation states to purchase land near military bases. This isn't necessary, this isn't
Anywhere.
anywhere, whether it's near a military base or whether it's near an electric grid or whether it's, of course, a farm or a ranch. So what we're seeing in California is we're seeing this happening up and down the state, but we're also seeing it across the country. So another piece of legislation that I think is really important that needs to be proposed, and again, I think I could build a coalition with other United States senators to make it happen, and working with Kevin McCarthy in the House of Representatives, our new Speaker of the House, who lives in my same city, by the way. I think we can get legislation proposed and passed that will absolutely prohibit any foreign government or entity from being able to buy up any land in our state. Harvard University is buying up vineyards. I think that should be illegal as well. Why is Harvard and woke liberal academic institutions buying up our land? It's because they want the water rights. They want to secure the water rights, and they want to secure the land, and they want to grow the kinds of crops they care to grow. I was at the World Ag, could somebody turn off their phone? Somebody's phone's going off. I was at the World Ag Show, and at the World Ag Show, they had a booth that was a cannabis booth, and they said, you know, farmers need to plow under their crops, which they're already doing. because water's too expensive. They're plowing under their crops. Some of the ranchers are slaughtering their cattle.
Wow,
It's horrific,
wow.
and it's gotta end. And the way to end it is through water and making water affordable. You can sit there, you can have my seat, it's no problem. Go ahead and have a seat. Thank you. So let's focus on water for just a moment. So one of the things that we can do to prevent the flooding here in our state and in other states, because in my county, Kern County, people were evacuated from Kernville, people were evacuated from Watsonville, people were evacuated from different cities here in our state. So what do? There needs to be passed, and I hope you get elected in the House because I'll want to work with you. We need to get rain capture systems underground on every farm and up and down the state. Number two, there's got to be more dams. So how many of you would support me in proposing legislation that would make it legally a mandate for this state and every other state in the union and across the country to have water capture systems or a water infrastructure legislation passed that makes it mandatory for states to build infrastructure? We don't have a drought problem in California, ladies and gentlemen. We do not have a drought problem. What we have is a water storage problem. One of the things I wanted to mention is that in Israel is now exporting water to its enemies, ancient, long-time enemies. It's now exporting water. How did they do that? Well, one of the things that they brought to America was drip irrigation. But another thing that they've done in Israel is they've built fog capture facilities. What's a fog capture facility? It pulls the moisture out of the air. With fog, whatever. It pulls the moisture out of the air and it processes it to the point it's 100% pure drinking water. And I know people that have built fog capture facilities on their property, and they literally don't have to buy water anymore because they have a fog capture system.
Wow.
Another thing that we can do, in addition to fog capture facilities, rainwater capture systems, and more dams, is we can also do things like reclamation plans. When I was driving up and down this state, I had 3 speaking engagements up in various parts of the states this last week, and I noticed dirty water coming through the mountains as I was driving along the freeways I was on. Reclamation projects, facilities. What Israel has done is taken the dirty water, for example, in the Jordan River, just one example, they've taken dirty water from the Jordan River and they've reclaimed it. They've processed it, they've made it pure, and they provide it for farmers and ranchers in Israel. It's also exportable to those countries like Jordan, which if you've been to Israel, you know the Jordan River separates Jordan and Israel. Anyway, reclamation plants and of course desalination plants. The state of California has the largest, most technologically advanced desalination plant in Carlsbad, California, and it provides all the drinking needs of everybody in Carlsbad, California. So these are the kinds of things I want to work on. Let's pivot real quick to oil. So in the state of California, in my county, in Kern County, we provide 75%, or we have provided 75% of all the oil needs for our state. This is what I want you to remember when you're talking to liberals and environmentalist radicals about the environment and fossil fuel. The fossil fuel companies have found a way to capture, it's called carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration, CCUS. They found a way to capture the carbon dioxide off of an oil refinery. When I turned on Crenshaw to come to this meeting, I noticed you had an oil refinery. We have 13 oil refineries in California. We have the cleanest. We provide the cleanest oil, natural gas, and coal than any other country in the world. And now we can capture carbon off of an oil rig and an oil refinery right here in our state and in every other state like Texas and other states that provide oil to the United States of America. But there's the moral case to be made for oil and natural gas and coal. It provides us the ability for power diplomacy. When you think about what's going on in Europe today, and a turn in the Middle East towards China, and turns towards Russia, that's incredibly important, because we should have so much oil and natural gas and coal to provide our allies that they don't turn to anybody but us. It's called power diplomacy, and we need it in the dangerous world that we live. And that's making the moral case for it. Also, synthetic fertilizers come from oil. So synthetic fertilizers have been available to farmers here in our country and around the globe. And synthetic fertilizers make it possible to grow the plants that we do. California provides 400. Tell your liberal friends, 400 commodities. We provide over 2/3 of the fruits and nuts that are sent around the country and around the world. We help feed the world. 1/3 of all the vegetables that we eat here in the state of California and in the United States comes from the Golden State, California. Without synthetic fertilizers, we can't do that. You have to have oil. So when you think about synthetic fertilizers, I want you to think, eliminate food shortages by number one, having plenty of water stored and dammed and ready to go. Number two, having synthetic fertilizers that help take care of our plants. Number three, I want you to think about this and tell your radicals why they need to vote for Denice Gary-Pandol for United States Senate. Environmentally speaking, you have to have carbon dioxide for photosynthesis.
Absolutely.
Plants breathe it in and they breathe out oxygen. You need to remind an environmentalist of this. It's really important that you tell them so they understand what the argument is and we can win them through debate to our side. Another important point that you need to remember to share with people, it's not just about photosynthesis. If you talk to climatologists and other scientists that work in environmental issues, they'll tell you that in states like California that don't get as much rainfall possibly as another state, that carbon dioxide helps that food that you eat, it helps those plants handle any kind of drought condition. So we've got to fix the water crisis. I'm here to fix it. I want to fix it. We want to avoid food shortages that are not just going on here in our country, but for example, how many of you just read a piece in the paper about the United Kingdom that has literally now rationing certain vegetables and fruits in England? And of course in the rest of the United Kingdom, which includes Ireland and Wales and Scotland. That's the United Kingdom, and now food's being rationed. Germany, other European countries are rationing food. So this is an important issue. Let's talk national security, my fourth thing I want to say about fossil fuels. So think about history for just a moment. Remember at the end of World War I, what happened? The Allies said to the world, you know, we rose to victory on a wave of oil. If it hadn't been for the United States providing 80% of all the petroleum needs we had during World War I, we wouldn't have won World War I. Germany, when we were fighting the Nazis in Japan, it was fossil fuels that helped us win that war.
World War
When
II.
not World War II, when Nazi Germany ran out,
Right,
we had plenty.
right.
Yeah.
It's extremely important because there will be another war. I hope it's not in our lifetime, but it may be sooner than later. So it's critically important that we have energy independence and we have the ability for that power diplomacy to be able to export it to all of our allies that may need it as our allies in World War III. That's critical, okay? And oh, by the way, think intelligently about this. Tell your environmental friends when you tell them to vote for Denice Gary-Pandol for U.S. Senate, tell them how in the world are you going to have an electric vehicle able to recharge itself in the middle of a battlefield where the front line keeps moving? How are you going to have those charging stations? I'd like to know that, especially if the electric grid has been blown up
Right.
in the country in which we're fighting. How does that work? It doesn't. Okay, real quick, let's talk about school choice. So the initiative here in the state of California failed, right? It failed to get on the ballot. One of the things I would like to do is propose legislation in the United States Senate that would make it illegal for any educational institution to receive $1 federal dollar. Not a single taxpayer, your dollars, not a single taxpayer dollar to any institution, including the United States military and military academies. No military academy should be teaching critical race theory or gender dysphoria.
They're doing it.
I know that, that's why I'm proposing legislation to make it
It's
illegal.
already existing.
I know that's why I'm proposing legislation to end it, because it's been going on now for quite a while, actually. So, I don't believe that any taxpayer dollar should go to a military academy or to the United States military if they're gonna teach critical race theory, which means that they'd have to follow suit with the United States law, if it will be law, and federal law trumps any other law, right, state or local law. So, that's critically important. We can't have children suffering from child abuse and worried about if they're a little boy or a little girl. They know what they are, and it's
Right.
clear what they are.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't be confused about it, and they shouldn't have to worry about it, and they shouldn't go into depression about it, and sometimes they commit suicide over it.
Yes.
It just should be it's a non-issue in their little lives, and it should remain so.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So legislation, I think, needs to get passed on the federal level, which makes it illegal. Okay, let me pivot real quick to illegal immigration. So, as you know, cartels are controlling the border. And not only that, cartels have entered into major cities throughout the United States. So they're not just at the border, they're inside our country.
Yes.
And it's critically important.
Flower girl.
It's critically important for you to know that the cartels are here because they want to continue to earn a profit off selling people. So even though the Republicans, under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president of the United States, the 16th president of our country, right?
Right.
Even though he wrote in his own hand the Emancipation Proclamation, and despite the fact that slavery became unlawful with the 13th Amendment, and of course the 14th Amendment under the Constitution, equality, and the 15th Amendment, the right to vote. Despite all that, the Democrats have brought back slavery.
Yes, they have.
So there's now 330 million slaves in the modern world. A lot of slavery goes on in the Middle East, in Muslim countries, particularly of Christians, of course in China. But on that border, what the cartels have learned is that you can only sell drugs once, but you can keep selling those little boys and little girls in the sex slave trade. You can kidnap them for organ harvesting. And one of the big problems right now is the kidnapping of these children who are sent across the border alone. They're kidnapped and they're obviously killed for their organs, and their organs are then sold on the black market. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is what the Democrats have brought. So when you're talking to a liberal, when you're talking to a Democrat, you need to make the case that they should be voting for this Republican, Denice Gary-Pandol, because she's deeply disturbed over the fact that people of the other party and independents as well that voted for Democrats or liberals, that they have allowed this kind of human slavery in the 21st century. In addition to that,
It doesn't
It is-
seem like they care.
well, but you should tell them anyway, because they say that they care, and they say they really care about people, and they
But they
care
don't.
about people's rights. So that's the point you make. You wanna vote Republican this time because you don't want your child going into deep depression and anxiety, worrying about whether they're a little boy or a little girl, or maybe an animal. And you don't want them worried about climate change, because as climatologists tell us, the earth goes in cycles. What did we hear in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s? There's gonna be an ice age and we're all gonna freeze to death. The oceans are gonna freeze and we're gonna freeze. Remember that? That's what we were told. There was gonna be an ice age. Now we're told that we're all gonna burn up. So, it's either ice age or, just tell them, just say, you know what? It's evil to send children into deep despair and fear over this climate change. Yes, the climate changes. We were talking about an ice age in the 70s, now in the 21st century talking about global warming. Guess what? The earth goes in cycles, it comes and goes. Sometimes we have cooling, sometimes we have warming. It's okay. Look at my website. Because of all my traveling, I've only put up 2 position papers. It's on fossil fuels and it's on water. So I hope you'll read what I've written and researched at length. I've given a note on every subject so that nobody could call me a liar, not a Republican, not a Democrat. So this is well researched. Hope you'll take a look at it and share it with people. By the way, thank you. And please, if you can make a contribution, that would be so greatly appreciated. This is, it's extremely important that you understand that when you're running for United States Senate, this is a large state. That's why I traveled 3 hours to be here tonight. One of the things that somebody from the Trump team said to me, Denice, if you want to overcome fraud in this state, which by the way, I stand for voter integrity, I'd like to see a national holiday in which everybody votes with a paper ballot, right? Yes. And shows photo identification. Photo identification is critical. So
You got one in your wallet already.
yes, you've got one in your wallet already, and the students have it in terms of usually a student ID or some kind of identification. My point is voter integrity is important. But until we have it right now, ballot harvesting is important. And I hope, Scott, your president, will choose people and identify people that can be involved in ballot harvesting, that can be involved in precinct walking, because we're going to need to do that to win the election. And I'm going to need more resources. For example, advertising is critical. I just got an email I was speaking in Orange Coast last Thursday night. Whoops, be careful. Northwest Orange Coast. Northwest Orange County. What did I say?
Republican Assembly.
Anyway, I was talking to someone down there and they said, I was just reading a newspaper article in the LA Times and the only people they mentioned was Schiff, Barbara Lee, and Katie Porter. When you see something like that, please don't let it go. Call the news desk. Write a little letter to the editor saying, I'm voting for Denice Gary-Pandol. Here's her website, DeniceGaryPandol.com. Read what she's written on how to end flooding in our state, how to end the water shortages, how to make life affordable and lower taxes, how to end inflation by making sure that fossil fuels is available and because it's affordable and it's reliable. Tell them what I wrote on my website. There's no amount of wind farms, there's no amount of solar panels, there's no amount of hydropower. There's not enough of renewable energy sources to handle 330 million people that currently live in the United States and require the use of electric grids, several electric grids in states across this country, because only reliable energy sources, coal, natural gas, and oil can be ramped up and ramped down for an electric grid. End of story. You can't do that with water. Water freezes, especially in the winter. Sometimes the wind doesn't blow, and sometimes the sun doesn't shine. You have to depend on reliable energy sources. I also want you to know I'm a law and order candidate. I'm an America First candidate. And I hope that, thank you for signing this. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I understand several
Thank
decades
you for
ago, funding was approved by the voters, I don't remember if it was a partition or what.
For?
To build, reclamation, locations such as reservoirs and dams. And to this day, nothing has happened. The question is obviously, where did the money go?
Right, and by the way, when the state says it's going to do something, it requires, I think, somebody like myself and the United States Senate senators to then call for oversight hearing
I know.
and say, we're gonna get it done, you're gonna get it done, and we're also passing legislation that will force you to get it done.
Yeah,
There has to be enforcement,
gotta be
and as your
accountability.
United States senator, I will make sure it gets enforced. Because I'll go everywhere
Yeah.
and make sure everybody knows, including the Department of Justice, if it doesn't get done.
Do you
Yes,
support continued funding for the Ukraine conflict?
I support first of all, I'm not the president, and only the president can decide foreign policy.
But the money, that's what I'm asking you about.
So.
Do you support to
regard-
continue sending money into the
I'm not
Ukraine?
gonna answer that question that way, so it's gonna be my answer. So first of all, regarding the war in Ukraine, that was mishandled from the beginning.
So is Afghanistan.
Yes, so Clinton promised Ukraine that if Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons,
Yeah,
that we would take care of them. And then we didn't, and Russia took over part of that country. Do you want part of California taken over by the Chinese and Russians? I know I don't.
yeah.
So we violated, let me just finish, we violated that treaty obligation. So how does that make us look to our allies? Let me finish.
But you know what? Ukraine
Excuse
violated
me.
their agreement with
Excuse
Russia.
me. Barack Obama then signed another agreement with Ukraine. And then Biden, when Russian troops were amassed on Ukraine's border, also said, we'll back you up. So this is the bottom line. I'm not the foreign policy person, I'm not the president. But what I would have liked to have seen happen is when President Trump sent those javelins and Stinger missiles over to Ukraine, I would have liked to have seen when Biden became president that there would have been the kinds of weapons sent there immediately so that that war would have been over in 60 days or less.
Yeah.
Because if we had done what we were supposed to do in order to give us credibility and integrity with our allies, I mean, Biden and Obama and Clinton literally damaged the United States standing and to negotiate treaties and to get cooperation from other nation states. Every time we don't keep our word and fulfill a treaty obligation, it ruins our ability to have what we call power diplomacy. So I don't want the war to continue. Who does? I absolutely do not want the war to continue. Ukraine is bleeding out those poor people. It should have been over. It should have been over last year. But the only way to have made it over last year,
Should have been over before we begun.
what Biden should have never said to
We got 2
Ukraine,
more minutes. Susan.
okay, Biden never should have said to Ukraine and to the world, it's okay if Vladimir Putin invades a little bit. Remember, that was one of his comments when they were amassed.
And the only thing is, you're a U.S. Senator and you are responsible for disbursement of funds. So this attitude of
Actually,
I'm not involved of it is
Actually,
not true,
Yeah,
with all due
I
respect.
didn't say that.
But-
I said the House controls the purse, and the
But
Senate
you can
votes on
vote too.
legislation. I understand
But you can
that.
vote too, and that's the point.
I understand that, and I vote to end the war in Ukraine. But they're going to need
1
the,
minute.
We gotta get past this.
You know, you asked the questions, I have a question.
I agree.
Don't you think you ought to push for a little more money out of Europe? They're the ones.
absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I don't
sir.
think we should let it go with that.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm not going to answer your question, with all due respect.
I answered your question. The allies, absolutely.
30
So
seconds.
if I had been president, as Trump was, I would have demanded that the allies, but see, Biden didn't have any leverage. Because he didn't have oil and natural gas, he didn't have those things available, they were looking to Russia. And China, by the way, has found billions of barrels of untapped oil in the South China Sea, which they're waiting to use. They've also found trillions of cubic feet of natural gas in the South China Sea. So Russia, Iran, and China have it. If we want to have leverage in any wartime scenario, we've got to have that ability to use that. And I think Biden blew it. I think the war should be already over.
Okay.
Only happened 50 years.
I agree.
And I'm just disappointed that what needed to happen was not done last year. Thank you.
Denise, Gary-Pandol, thank you very much. Thank you very much.